Ethan left me injured and walked away with Chloe in his arms. That's when I knew it was time to let go. Later, he came to apologize, asking me to forgive him. I smiled and shook my head. I no longer loved Ethan, whatever he did had nothing to do with me. As things stood, our paths would never intersect again. Later, I left the country for college without a word, and Ethan knelt before me like a madman, begging me not to leave. But I had already moved on from him. When the car accident happened, tears streamed down my face from the pain. Through my tear-filled eyes, I saw Ethan appear, and my heart was filled with a hopeful surprise. Ethan and I had argued, and we'd been in a silent war for a week. Ethan and I grew up together. We were the quintessential childhood sweethearts. Our parents and Ethan's parents were always close, so we were inseparable from a young age. We went through preschool, elementary school, middle school, and then got into Northwood together. For over 10 years, we had never been apart, always side by side. Our relationship was something both sets of parents happily approved of, although it wasn't official. They already considered us a couple. Not just our parents, but everyone who knew us assumed Ethan and I would be a couple, the most in love and inseparable pair. So, when Ethan and I started having silent treatments after an argument sparked by Chloe, the new transfer student, I didn't think it was a big deal. I believed that our decade plus of being childhood sweethearts meant we would reconcile and go back to how things were. So, when I saw Ethan rushing towards me after I was injured, I cried out of hurt and reached out my hand to him. I thought Ethan would grab my hand and help me up to take me to the doctor. But my outstretched hand was met with no response. Ethan dashed past me like a gust of wind. Then I watched as Ethan reached out and picked up Chloe, who was lying not far behind me. Under the gaze of so many people, I stood stiffly, my hand still raised, watching my childhood sweetheart of over 10 years walk past me, holding another woman. Chloe transferred to our school in the second semester of junior year. She had excellent grades and was quite pretty. She was just timid and very introverted, reportedly due to a difficult home life. Chloe transferred and sat in front of me, and I had a very good nature and temper. I also sympathized with the underdog, so when Chloe was bullied right after transferring, I stepped in to help her out of a tough spot. Later, knowing Chloe had excellent grades and that her family was struggling, I secretly started helping her. I brought her breakfast and bought her study materials for free. Fearing was too proud to accept my help. I used the excuse that newly bought clothes didn't fit me to give her clothes. I even disguised myself as a kind benefactor and secretly sent her money. I always brought Chloe along on my dates with Ethan, so for a long time, Chloe was constantly with us. I don't know when Chloe and Ethan started developing feelings for each other. I just suddenly noticed that Chloe started declining my invitations to eat and no longer came and went with me, and was no different. After made an excuse for the 10th time that he had something to do and couldn't walk home with me after school, I found him and Chloe buying materials at Riverbend. That day after school, I was supposed to buy study materials with Ethan. I had asked him at lunchtime. He had agreed then, but he changed his mind during the break in the last period that afternoon. Ethan told me, "Olivia, I have something on tonight. You'll have to buy the study materials yourself." I was surprised that he had something to do every single day lately, but I was quite oblivious and didn't think much of it. After all, with over 10 years of being childhood sweethearts, I never imagined Ethan would be deceiving me. I then asked Chloe if she was free to come with me to buy study materials. Chloe also declined, saying she had something to do. After school, I arranged to go buy materials with Emily, a good friend from my class. Emily lived a bit far, so we first had burgers and fries at a casual diner, then went to a large Riverbend closer to her place. I usually never came here to buy materials. This was my first time. After entering Riverbend, I saw Ethan and Chloe. They stood side by side in front of a bookshelf, choosing materials, standing very close to each other. Ethan had a smile on his face and was constantly talking to Chloe. Chloe's smile was also radiant, demurely shy. For the first time, I truly understood the meaning of the word demure. They didn't notice Emily and me. After picking out their materials, they left side by side. As they walked out of Riverbend, Chloe twisted her ankle slightly. Ethan reached out and supported Chloe. He didn't let go, anxiously asking her about it. He even crouched down to look at Chloe's leg. This was something Ethan often did for me when I was injured. I had no idea when they had become so intimately familiar with each other. I had always thought Ethan would only be anxious for me and only care about me. Then I watched as Chloe leaned half her weight on Ethan, limping away with his support. Seeing me staring outside, Emily also noticed them. She looked at me sympathetically. "Olivia, are you only finding this out now?" "What?" I retorted. Ethan and Chloe haven't been this close for the first time. I've seen them together twice, and other classmates have caught them too. Emily chose her words carefully. They're all saying Chloe is scheming. Knowing is from a wealthy family, she plays the damsel in distress. Everyone's saying Chloe is stealing Ethan away from you. And after how good you were to her, she's just an ungrateful opportunist. I don't know how I got home that night. Lying in bed, I stared blankly at the ceiling for a long time. Later, Ethan called, "Olivia, did you buy your materials?" I mumbled a low H. And he heard something was off. "Are you not feeling well?" "No. I brought you your favorite boba tea. I'll bring it right up." Thinking about what Emily had told me, I felt a lingering uneasiness. But given my over 10-year history as Ethan's childhood sweetheart, I didn't refuse. Ethan came up quickly and brought me the boba tea. He helped me put in the straw. I took a sip of the boba tea and realized it wasn't the flavor I usually liked, but Chloe's preferred one. In a foul mood, I set the boba tea aside. "What were you doing tonight?" Ethan's expression was a bit unnatural, and after a moment, he said, "I arranged to play sports with some guys." He was lying to me. At that moment, I felt terrible inside. Absolutely awful. If he'd told me he went to buy materials with Chloe, I would have thought they were just being schoolmates. But he was deceiving me. Why was he deceiving me? Did he like Chloe? Ethan knew about our bond. If he liked Chloe, wouldn't that mean ending our relationship completely? And I truly considered her a friend. I was so good to her, yet knowing about Ethan and my relationship, she chose to do something like this. What was she thinking? Looking at Ethan's handsome features, the more I thought about it, the more upset I became. "Just go. I want to sleep." Ethan didn't ask about me solicitously, as he used to, he simply stood up and left. That night, I tossed and turned in bed, unable to sleep. After learning that Ethan and Chloe were secretly involved, I felt a knot of anger and distanced myself from Chloe. I stopped bringing her breakfast, stopped eating lunch with her, and no longer enthusiastically discussed things with her, nor would I help her with her daily life or financially. As I distanced myself from Chloe, Ethan and Chloe's relationship, on the other hand, grew increasingly intimate. I noticed Ethan started buying 2 boba teas and 2 snacks when he brought them for me. He also frequently reminded me, "How come you didn't beat Chloe?" I just stared at Ethan with a blank expression, watching him care for Chloe right in front of me, surpassing the bond we had as childhood sweethearts. I admit I was jealous of Chloe. She had good grades, was pretty, and had stolen away the relationship Ethan and I had for so many years. I hated Chloe, but I never wanted to make a public spectacle of this. Because my relationship had never been officially declared, I had no right to tell him what to do. Distancing myself from Ethan and Chloe was the only thing I could do. I never expected Ethan would stand up for Chloe and publicly humiliate me like that. During free period in PE, the boys formed teams to play basketball, while the girls played badminton, table tennis, volleyball, or basketball. Everyone else had formed teams in 2s and 3s and started their activities, but Chloe was left all alone on the sidelines. Before, when I took the initiative to talk to her and invite her to join, no one said anything. Now that I ignored Chloe, no one called her over. Chloe stood alone on the sidelines, then she walked towards me, a pleading smile on her face. "Olivia, can I play basketball with you all?" It's hard to turn down a polite request. I hated Chloe, but she had asked directly, so I couldn't refuse. So I agreed. Chloe and I were on one team, and our 2 teams defended each other, fought for rebounds, and shot baskets. I didn't know when Chloe had moved so close to me, but as I jumped up to contest a rebound with an opponent, a cry of alarm came from behind me. Chloe had fallen, badly, and her leg was injured and bleeding. Everyone stopped. The boys also stopped playing and gathered around. Ethan was the first to rush over, his face showing obvious concern. "What happened? How did you get hurt and bleeding all of a sudden?" Tears streamed down Chloe's face as she said pitifully, "It was Olivia." "Olivia, I didn't provoke you, did I? Why did you push me?" I was stunned. I admit that because of Ethan. I disliked Chloe, distanced myself from her, and wanted no further interaction with her. But pushing her like that was something I truly did not do. I wouldn't call myself a person of high moral character, but I'm certainly not a malicious person. Of course, I had to defend myself. "I didn't push you, you leaned into me." "You did. I don't know what I did to offend you, but lately you haven't been hanging out with me, you've distanced yourself, and you've been turning people against me." The force of Chloe's tearful accusation, coming from an injured person, was considerable. After all, she did fall because I had bumped into her just now. Everyone looked at me differently. Ethan's face was cold, and his eyes showed disappointment. Olivia, how could you disappoint me like this? Apologize. I stared blankly at Ethan. You don't believe me? Apologize, and I'll forgive you. Why should I apologize for something I didn't do? She ran into me herself. Olivia, you've changed beyond recognition. Ethan interrupted my defense. If you don't apologize, don't blame me for what happens next. I won't apologize. I didn't do anything wrong. In the heat of the argument, Ethan angrily pushed me, and I fell to the ground. My leg was stinging and burning where it scraped against the ground, but I didn't shed a tear. I got up by myself and left alone. Back in the classroom, I couldn't stop crying. Anyone else could accuse me falsely, but not Ethan. After over 10 years of our relationship, didn't he know what kind of person I was? He unhesitatingly chose to believe Chloe and doubt me. My tears flowed like water gushing from a dam, impossible to stop. I limped home after getting permission to leave. Messages kept coming to my phone on the way, and I knew they were from Ethan. I ignored them. I knew my eyes were red and swollen, and I looked disheveled and miserable, so I didn't want to go home and worry my parents. I went to the public library, but I couldn't focus on reading. I just sat there, staring blankly, until someone sat down opposite me. A cup of boba tea was pushed across to me. I looked up and saw it was Daniel, a prominent figure at school. Daniel smiled as he looked at me. Olivia, why are you hiding here, crying by yourself? I was very embarrassed. Daniel had a reputation at school that swung between two extremes. He was incredibly arrogant and quick-tempered, always ready to physically confront anyone he didn't like. Yet his grades were exceptionally good. He was consistently the top student in our year. Rumors said he played video games until late every night, skipped classes, drank heavily, and smoked, but his grades never suffered. Daniel was also handsome. When they voted for campus heartthrob, he always outshone Ethan. I didn't know why Daniel was here. We had no interactions. I'd only heard my parents say that his family ran a very large company, and they were incredibly influential and not to be crossed. I subconsciously wanted to stay away from Daniel, but for some reason, he insisted on following me. He kept making small talk with me, and later, he took me to a nearby urgent care clinic to disinfect the wound on my leg. Daniel even treated me to an exquisite, ridiculously expensive afternoon tea. Only then did I learn that the bistro, the city's famous restaurant, was owned by his family. He had someone prepare ice packs for my eyes and then drove me home. Throughout the entire process, Daniel was incredibly good-tempered, not at all eccentric, overbearing, or difficult to deal with. Not long after I got home, Ethan came to see me. He still brought me boba tea, and as soon as he entered, he scolded me. Why did you take the afternoon off? Do you have any idea how worried I was about you? I ignored him, and he sat down beside me. Olivia, Chloe is a very sensitive person, you shouldn't target her like that. By the way, even after how you treated her, she doesn't hate you, she's very worried about you. She's a why kind and wonderful girl. Whether was kind and good, I didn't know, but I knew one thing. If it were me, I would never steal someone's partner and falsely accuse them. I coldly told Ethan, so you like her so much that you're already with her. Why are you still coming to find me? Are you just playing with me? Ethan called me unreasonable, lost his temper, and argued hotly with me, and we entered another Cold War. Even then, I didn't expect him to be so heartless and indifferent towards me. Ethan and I stopped talking and stopped going to and from school together. Although we sat next to each other, we never exchanged words. Ethan and Chloe grew closer and closer, often discussing their studies right in front of me. Ethan no longer brought me snacks, but he would give snacks to Chloe right in front of me. I kept ignoring it, knowing we were both sulking. I was waiting for Ethan to apologize and take the initiative to admit he was wrong. I thought that after over 10 years of our relationship, since he was the one in the wrong, he would be the first to yield. So, when the car accident happened, and I saw Ethan rushing towards me, I thought he was worried about me. But it turned out to be just a wishful fantasy of mine. Watching ignore me and walk away with the lightly injured Chloe in his arms, my heart ached more severely than my leg. In the throes of extreme pain, I clearly understood that it was time to completely let go of Ethan. Daniel took me to the hospital. My leg had a gash from the impact, it bled a lot, and I needed dozens of stitches. It took me a week of rest before I could return to school. During that time, Ethan and I had no communication. He didn't text or call me, and naturally, I wouldn't contact him either. When I returned to school, I requested a seat change. Ethan and I were desk partners, but I used the excuse that I wanted to sit alone and requested a seat in the back. After I moved, Ethan and Chloe entered together. Ethan froze when he saw I had moved. He didn't say anything, but soon his face darkened, and he angrily reported to the teacher, asking for Chloe to sit with him. Chloe became Ethan's desk partner. I kept my head down, showing no reaction. But inside, I felt incredibly sad. Later, someone beside me moved a chair, and long, slender fingers offered me a piece of chocolate. Nice to be your deskmate. I looked up and jumped when I saw Daniel. What are you doing here? Daniel had requested a class change and moved to our class, becoming my new desk partner. Seeing sitting next to me, Ethan's expression was very displeased. Daniel's grades were excellent, he had a photographic memory and could apply what he learned to new situations. Daniel, disdainful of my poor grades, offered to tutor me. In exchange, I had to prepare his breakfast every day. It was a win-win situation. After all, a private tutor would cost at least hundreds of dollars an hour, wouldn't they? On the first morning, the breakfast I prepared for Daniel was a sandwich and milk. Seeing me walk into the classroom carrying a sandwich and milk, Emily immediately leaned in. Olivia, haven't you eaten breakfast yet? Your breakfast looks so fancy. Can you share some with me? I shook my head. No, I can't. This breakfast is for someone else. If you like it, I'll bring you some next time. Ethan, who was talking to Chloe, heard our conversation and looked up at me. My seat was past Ethan and Chloe's desks. As I walked past with the breakfast, Ethan kept watching me, and Chloe was watching me too. I met their gaze with a blank expression. For some reason, I saw a hint of anticipation and a smile in Ethan's eyes. Chloe, on the other hand, gave me a very unhappy, cold, resentful glare. When I walked past Ethan, he opened his mouth as if to speak. But he fell silent after seeing me quickly walk away. I placed the breakfast next to Daniel, and he smiled, flicking my head. Then he pushed a book of practice problems towards me. He ate his brie. Fast while I worked on the practice problems. I asked Daniel whenever I didn't understand something. When morning study ended, I looked up and met Ethan's gaze. He looked hurt, but I withdrew my gaze without expression. During the break after the second class, I went to the restroom, and Ethan stopped me in the hallway. This was the first time we'd spoken in over a month of Cold War. He asked me, Olivia, are you holding a grudge against me? I just quirked a corner of my mouth. Why would you think that? He's complicated. Even though his grades are good, his family situation is complicated. I heard. Gossiping behind someone's back is a shameful thing to do, you know. Daniel is my deskmate, and I don't want to hear anyone speak ill of him. I turned around, leaving Ethan standing there. After school that evening, Daniel and I were preparing to buy study materials. Chloe stopped me. Olivia, Ethan and I are going to buy materials. Why don't all three of us go together? No thanks. I've already made plans with someone. I refused coldly. Olivia, are you blaming me because of Ethan and me? Chloe explained pitifully, we're friends, and we used to be so close. It makes me sad to see you like this. Friends? I raised an eyebrow, looking at her. I know you're blaming me. When you got hurt, I told Ethan to go see you. I didn't stop him, he just didn't want to go because he didn't want to leave me. Her explanation sounded like a boast, telling me that my over-decade-long relationship as Ethan's childhood sweetheart couldn't compare to her 3 months with Ethan. It was the first time I realized Chloe's level of manipulation was so high. I wondered if she had forgotten that I had stood up for her when she was bullied right after transferring. Or forgotten that I gave her gifts and secretly gave her money when I knew her family was struggling. They say a small kindness should be repaid with boundless gratitude. I didn't expect anything in return for my help. But she shouldn't be flaunting it shamelessly in front of me like this, should she? I had already let go of both her and Ethan. I didn't blame Chloe for anything. It was just Ethan's own choice. I had even thought that one day, when I came to terms with it, I would bless their relationship. But at this moment, looking at Chloe in front of me, I only felt disgusted. Chloe cried, large tears rolling from her eyes. Olivia, are you treating me like this because of Ethan and me? I'm sorry, it's all my fault. I'll give Ethan back to you, okay? I found her words as amusing as an absurd joke. Ethan and I did indeed have a very close relationship. We had been childhood sweethearts for over 10 years. Both our parents were very fond of us, and everyone outside gossiped that we were a couple, but had never spoken of a more serious relationship with me. Before we met Chloe, we were just friends. I think you're mistaken. Ethan and I are just neighbors. We don't have the kind of relationship you're imagining. But said you two were. I only just found out now, Olivia. Please forgive me, okay? I don't want to lose a friend like you. As spoke, she took a step closer to me and forcefully grabbed my hand. Her grip on my hand was incredibly tight, it hurt, and I instinctively shook her off. Then, just like they always show in TV dramas and movies, Chloe delicately fell to the ground, raising her tear-filled eyes to look at me with an innocent expression. Olivia, I truly don't want to lose you as a friend. Please forgive me, okay? Then suddenly appeared, shouting at me in disappointment, Olivia, how could you act like this? She just came to apologize to you. Why are you treating her so badly? This melodramatic scene made me feel like I'd swallowed a fly. Even as Daniel and I went to Riverbend, I couldn't stop feeling disgusted. We quickly bought our materials and returned home, only to run into Ethan at the doorstep. His face was grim as he stopped me. Olivia, I hope you'll apologize to Chloe for what happened today. I looked at him coldly, and Ethan continued, Chloe is very pitiful. She comes from a difficult background, and her family situation is tough. You know, people like her are very vulnerable. Because of your lack of understanding, she's been crying all night. Olivia, if you don't want to lose me as a friend, go apologize to Chloe. Those words were ridiculous, as if I absolutely needed his charity to survive. Ethan, Chloe's situation has nothing to do with me. I didn't make her family financially struggling. As for apologizing, that's out of the question. Ethan and I once again parted ways unhappily. After this argument, I blocked Ethan's number. I heard classmates discussing that Ethan and Chloe were already in a passionate relationship. Chloe kept showing off the gifts Ethan gave her. Ethan's family was as well off as mine, and the gifts he gave Chloe were all very expensive. Chloe was constantly showing off, and because Ethan had her back, no one at school dared to bully her. Chloe gradually became arrogant, no longer as cautious as she had been at first. Her dress and style also began to change, she became fashionable and started wearing makeup. I didn't pay attention to Ethan and Chloe's affairs, I just fully immersed myself in my studies. Daniel was incredibly brilliant, he utterly impressed me. His problem-solving approaches and methods of understanding completely won me over. My grades were decent, but compared to a genius-level student like Daniel, I was far behind. Under his tutelage, I felt my studies significantly improved. I sincerely thanked Daniel and invited him to a popular barbecue joint. We ordered a table full of delicious dishes and started eating, chatting as we went. Midway through, Emily texted me, Olivia, why didn't you come? For what? It's Chloe's birthday today. Ethan booked a private room and invited the whole class to celebrate Chloe's birthday. I thought you'd be here. What do irrelevant people have to do with me? Why would I go to her birthday? Emily sent me pictures of the birthday celebration. Chloe was wearing a birthday tiara and a designer dress, smiling brilliantly. She and Ethan sat together, very close. Ethan even used cake to smear Chloe's face, a gesture he used to often do to me at birthdays. If I had seen this scene before, I would have been furious, but now, I calmly replied to Emily, have fun. I no longer paid attention to Ethan celebrating Chloe's birthday. After our meal, Daniel and I left the popular barbecue joint. Too full from dinner, we took a walk down the street, discussing our future plans as we walked. Daniel was planning to study abroad, a top university overseas had already extended an offer to him. He asked if I was interested in studying overseas too. I had never considered it before, but now, I surprisingly found myself contemplating it. As we passed an intersection, we saw a group of troublemaking teenagers. There were about 7 or 8 of them gathered together, looking menacing. I heard one of them say, that cheat Chloe. How dare she cheat on him with a rich kid? I'll beat her lover to death later. My gaze fell on the speaker. He was fairly good looking, but his exaggerated tattoos gave off a bad vibe. I didn't know if the Chloe he spoke of was the Chloe I knew. If so, then the lover they were talking about must be Ethan. After being childhood sweethearts for over 10 years, I didn't want to see Ethan get mixed up with people like that. Should I warn Ethan or Chloe? While I was conflicted, Chloe sent me a video of her and Ethan embracing. Although she quickly unsent it, I saw it clearly. Suddenly, I wasn't conflicted anymore. What did other people's affairs have to do with me? That evening, I went home, showered, and fell asleep. Only at breakfast the next morning did I learn that Ethan had been stabbed. My parents said Ethan's parents went to the hospital last night. Ethan was seriously injured, they say. He had been stabbed multiple times. Ethan was stabbed by a group of young thugs. The exact reason was unknown, but it seemed Ethan had been acting heroically. Olivia, I'll pick you up at noon to go see Ethan. No thanks. My study schedule is very tight at noon, I can't spare the time. Then how about tonight? My parents asked again. I've arranged to study with a classmate tonight, so I don't have time either. My parents exchanged a glance, and my mom asked worriedly, Ethan hasn't been to our house in a long time, has he? Did you two have a fight? Since things were already like this, there was no need to hide it from my parents. The thing is, Ethan has a girlfriend now, who is very smart. If I keep interacting with him, it will upset Ethan's girlfriend. My parents were surprised. They exchanged glances and fell silent. They knew about my relationship with Ethan, and it was clear now that Ethan had feelings for someone else. My mom hugged me and comforted me. Don't be sad, Olivia. Someone better will be waiting for you. I smiled. Mom, I'm not sad. I'm doing really well now. Let me tell you something good. My grades have improved. I went up 60 ranks in this month's exam. My parents were thrilled and wanted to celebrate for me, and the matter of Ethan's injury was dropped. My parents didn't mention me going to the hospital either. They went themselves to visit Ethan, owing to their relationship with his parents. They returned and said Ethan had woken up. Ethan had indeed gotten into a fight with a group of thugs because of Chloe. Ethan's parents were furious and were scolding Chloe. They said Chloe had been keeping vigil, and her eyes were red and swollen from crying. They also said Ethan was very disappointed that I hadn't gone and asked when I would visit him. Of course, I wouldn't go see Ethan. I hold grudges. I remembered when I was hospitalized after my car accident, Ethan didn't visit me. What goes around comes around. I went to school as usual, with no intention of visiting Ethan whatsoever. A week passed like this. When I got home, I saw Aunt at my doorstep. Aunt must have been waiting for me there. When she saw me, she smiled and came to greet me. Olivia, you're back. Aunt had always been good to me. I smiled and nodded, and she took my hand. Ethan wants to see you. I didn't know how to respond. Deep down, I didn't want to see Ethan. After all, he had treated me so badly and falsely accused me all for Chloe. Aunt sighed. Olivia, you should have told us sooner. We had no idea you and Ethan were having issues. That girl is truly manipulative. With her family situation, she's dating other boys, not just one, but stringing several guys along, using their money, and still trying to ensnare our Ethan. I was startled by Aunt's words. Is that true? Chloe was pretty, but very introverted and barely interacted with her classmates. She didn't seem like someone who was dating multiple people at once and using other people's money. Could there be a mistake? No mistake. She used those thugs' money, reportedly tens of thousands of dollars. Ethan also spent over $100,000 on her. I had heard rumors of Ethan spending money on Chloe. After all, just a Cartier bracelet cost tens of thousands of dollars. Not to mention her daily clothing and accessories and other expenses. Aunt's expression was grim. The family was wealthy and didn't care about the over $100,000, but being used was a different matter entirely. If I knew my son was being used like that, I'd also be angry. I awkwardly tried to reassure her. Aunt, please don't be angry, perhaps there's a misunderstanding. Olivia, we only just found out you and Ethan had a fight. Ethan was foolish, but please don't hold it against him. As your aunt, I'm begging you, go visit Ethan in the hospital. I didn't want to visit Ethan, but Aunt and Uncle had always been very good to me. I couldn't refuse them, so I had no choice but to go to the hospital with Aunt. Ethan had lost a lot of blood and was pale. When Carol and I entered, Chloe was also in the hospital room. Seeing Aunt's face darkened. Who told you to come here? Get out. Chloe was sent away. Aunt made an excuse to go find the doctor, leaving just Ethan and me in the hospital room. We had been childhood sweethearts for over 10 years, and I thought seeing Ethan injured would make my heart ache. But as I stood in the hospital room, looking at the weak Ethan, I felt no pity or sympathy at all. I just dryly said, get well soon. Medical technology is so advanced these days, you'll be fine. Ethan stared at me, seeing that I was standing far away, with no intention of coming closer. He gave a self-deprecating laugh. Olivia, have we become so estranged? Didn't he know why we had ended up this way? I knew Ethan wasn't my property, but before he got together with Chloe, he should have at least not hidden it from me. I had no right to blame Ethan, but after being targeted and hurt by him so many times, my feelings for him seemed to have faded. I did like Ethan. Over 10 years of feelings weren't easily forgotten. If he hadn't blamed me indiscriminately all for Chloe, if he had told me before he started dating Chloe, I don't think I would have blamed her at all. Feelings couldn't be forced. I wouldn't stubbornly chase after someone who didn't feel the same way about me. Ethan saw my silence and indifference and was very unhappy. He must have been blaming me. Olivia, you weren't like this before. The old me would have cried from heartache seeing him injured, would have been so sad and upset that I couldn't eat or sleep. Now, I saw him without batting an eye, but whose fault was that? Being alone with Ethan, I couldn't find that old feeling anymore. I felt awkward and had nothing to say. After a few dry words of comfort, I made an excuse and left. Chloe hadn't left yet, she was waiting downstairs. When she saw me come down, CKLY approached. Olivia, Ethan and I are officially together now. I'm his girlfriend, so I hope you won't try to become his mistress. I looked at Chloe, not wanting to say a word. I scoffed and left. The next day at school, I found that the rumors about Ethan and Chloe seemed to have grown considerably. Emily told me over lunch, Chloe is really something. She's involved with several men, students from other schools, local troublemakers. I heard she has a knack for playing men. If hadn't celebrated her birthday so publicly this time, all those guys who like her wouldn't have known she was seeing multiple people at once. Emily said that at the club where Ethan celebrated Chloe's birthday, one of Chloe's boyfriend's sisters worked as a server. She quickly spotted Chloe and Ethan being intimate and immediately told her brother. That's when he brought a group of people to cause trouble, leading to the conflict. Emily also mentioned that Chloe was the daughter of a mistress, and her mother had worked as a hostess in her youth before having Chloe with a much older wealthy man. She had hoped to secure a large sum of money by having Chloe, but Chloe turned out to be a girl. Then, to her shock, the wealthy man died, and his family refused to acknowledge Chloe. Chloe and her mother didn't receive a dime in support and were almost ruined. I had no idea where such rumors came from. I just smiled without comment, dismissing them as mere gossip for amusement. I felt no particular emotion, it had nothing to do with me. I never imagined that even listening to rumors was a mistake. Ethan actually called to interrogate me. I had blocked Ethan's number, so he called from a different one. When I answered and just said, "Hello," he furiously demanded, "Olivia, is it right for you to ruin a girl's reputation like this?" "What?" I asked, stunned, hearing Ethan's voice. "Still playing innocent? Do you dare deny that the rumors about Chloe at school didn't come from you? My mom told you, and then you went and spread it around at school, didn't you? You're a girl too, don't you know how much damage such rumors can cause a girl? What did the rumors at school have to do with me? I'd just heard about them myself." I felt incredibly wronged. I was so furious, I hung up without saying another word. Ethan stayed in the hospital for over a month, and during that time, several things happened. First, the monthly exams were held again. Ethan wasn't ranked because he missed the test, while Chloe, who always held the top spot in class, dropped more than 10 places. Her grade ranking plummeted from within the top 20 to outside the top 100. As for me, with Daniel, the top-ranked student in our grade, as my tutor, I surprisingly scored second in class. The top spot, of course, went to Daniel. The second thing was that Chloe was beaten up at the school gate. The one who hit Chloe was a middle-aged woman who arrived with a driver. She grabbed Chloe's hair and called her a slut, accusing Chloe's mother of shamelessly seducing her husband and having a bastard child. So many people watched as Chloe was beaten and utterly humiliated. School security had to intervene to stop it, but the news that Chloe's mother was a mistress quickly spread. The third thing was that my birthday arrived. My parents wanted to throw a birthday party for me, but I refused. On my birthday, I simply invited a few of my closest friends to dinner, and Daniel was among them. We still went to a popular barbecue joint. I said no gifts, but all my invited friends still brought presents. Daniel actually gave me 10 sets of practice problems as a birthday gift. After dinner at the barbecue joint, we went to sing karaoke. Daniel said he knew of a karaoke bar that had a special promotion that night, especially a very generous discount for people celebrating their birthdays. Everyone was intrigued, so a group of us headed to the lounge. When we arrived at the entrance, we realized it was the most renowned Onyx in the city, and I remembered reading reports that it had a minimum spend. It was tens of thousands of dollars, and my friends and I were intimidated. However, a staff member from the lounge proactively came up to greet us. Just as Daniel said, it was free for anyone celebrating their birthday that day. Drinks were free, they provided a birthday cake, and they even decorated for the birthday celebration for free. We were led by the staff into a private room. The private room was large and exquisitely decorated, with a very festive birthday atmosphere. Not only did the staff provide free drinks, but they also delivered a custom-designed gourmet cake. It wasn't that I hadn't eaten a custom-designed gourmet cake before, but I had genuinely never had a free one. I have a good amount of pocket money and my savings, and when we came in, I had seen the private room's pricing. It started at tens of thousands. Not to mention all the drinks and the custom-designed gourmet cake. This custom-designed gourmet cake was different from the one I had last year. it was bigger and looked more elaborate. I remembered my parents had ordered a custom-designed gourmet cake for my birthday last year for $19,999. So this custom-designed gourmet cake must have cost even more than that. I quietly asked Daniel, "Are you sure it's free?" Daniel replied, "It's free. When I came last year, they didn't charge me a dime and even gave me a gift. Don't worry about it." It was everyone's first time there, and initially, we were a little uneasy. But soon, we loosened up, lit the candles, and sang happy. We had a great time, and I drank the complimentary red wine. By the time we left, I was feeling a bit tipsy. The lounge indeed didn't charge us anything. As I was leaving, a lovely young woman even gave me a birthday gift. I was so tipsy that I didn't even look at it, and just lay down as soon as I got home. When I woke up the next morning, I saw the gift on my nightstand and curious. I unwrapped it. I was stunned. It was a beautiful bracelet. My mom brought me some honey water and was also surprised when she saw the bracelet. "Who gave you this? Why is it so expensive?" It was a luxury brand bracelet, a limited edition, and very valuable. My mom found it too incredible to believe. How had they never heard of the lounge giving away free cakes, food, drinks, and gifts? My dad also thought it was unbelievable. They whispered to each other for a moment, then questioned me for a while. After learning that Daniel was with us, they both realized with a start. That lounge is owned by the Fu family. It's likely that your bill from last night was charged to Daniel, including that bracelet. Of course, I wouldn't accept such a valuable item. My parents told me to return it to Daniel. I took the gift to school, with my dad driving me personally. On the way, I turned on my phone and found many calls from unknown numbers. There was also a message, "Olivia. Happy." I guessed it was from Ethan, but I didn't pay much attention. My priority was to return the bracelet to Daniel. However, to my surprise, Daniel wasn't in class. He had gone to a math competition and would be away for a while. By the time he returned, we would already be on vacation. Unable to see Daniel, I had no choice but to take the gift back home. I texted Daniel, but he kept playing dumb. He even told me to diligently work on the practice problems he gave me, saying he would check them when he returned. Just like that, vacation quickly arrived, as did Ethan's discharge from the hospital. Emily and I had agreed to go on a road trip through the national parks of the Southwest for half a month, and then we visited the California coast. By the time we returned, the vacation was almost over. The day I got home, Ethan came to my house. He originally intended to go upstairs to find me, as he used to, but our housekeeper stopped him. Our housekeeper brought Ethan a glass of water and asked him to why tea for me in the living room. After I showered and changed, Daniel texted me, "Have you finished all the practice problems? Bring them for me to check." I went downstairs carrying the thick stack of practice problems, still holding the valuable gift in my other hand. Seeing sitting in the living room, I froze for a moment. He stood up. "Olivia, long time no see." I just hummed, "Are you here for my parents? They might be back later." I had no desire to speak with Ethan, but he stopped me. "Olivia, I prepared a birthday gift for you." He pulled out a box, but I didn't even look at it. My birthday has passed and I can't accept gifts. But thank you anyway. Ethan stood stiffly, holding the gift. "Olivia, do we really have to be so distant? What else? You have a girlfriend. As a man with a girlfriend, I hope you can be devoted to her and keep your distance from other women to avoid misunderstandings." "I don't have a girlfriend, Olivia. Chloe and I aren't what you think." I didn't have time to listen to his explanations. "What you do with others has nothing to do with me. We're just neighbors. I have something to do right now. Could you move aside? I'm in a hurry." I didn't look at Ethan's expression, but quickly walked out of the house, carrying the practice problems and the gift. I went to see Daniel and handed him both the practice problems and the gift. He took the practice problems but pushed the gift back to me. "This is your gift. Why are you giving it to me? This gift is too valuable for me to accept. Please take it." It didn't cost much, but the sentiment behind it is significant. "It's a custom piece from me." He looked at my practice problems, checking them as he casually added, "I like designing, and this bracelet is my first design. I just lent a luxury brand's name to it. If you don't want it, I'll just throw it away." I held the bracelet, which felt like a hot potato, unsure what to do. Daniel then added, "If you feel guilty, you can repay me by being my girlfriend. I don't have many virtues, but I value loyalty and commitment." My heart pounded. I looked at Daniel's handsome face and blushed. I neither accepted nor rejected Daniel, but I did take the bracelet home with me. Daniel drove me home. I waved goodbye to him, watched his car drive away, and prepared to go inside. Ethan suddenly appeared. He asked, "You went to see Daniel? When did you two get so close? Are you getting close to Daniel just to spite me? What nerve? He's so full of himself." I was very impatient. "What I do has nothing to do with you. Who are you to tell me what to do?" Ethan looked at me with a pained expression. "Olivia, I'm not dating Chloe. I just felt sorry for her and helped her. We're just friends." He denied dating Chloe, but Chloe always said they were a couple. I was annoyed. "You're willing to do things but not own up to them? How typical. Besides, I have no relationship with you whatsoever, so who you're with is none of my business." Ethan was speechless. After a long moment, he said, "Olivia, I deliberately celebrated Chloe's birthday because I wanted to make you jealous. I also implicitly allowed her to post the photos of us hugging. I thought you'd be furious, but I didn't expect you to be so indifferent." I felt disgusted. I didn't understand Ethan's logic. Did he mean he hurt me for Chloe because he cared about me and wanted to see my reaction? Did he want me to confront Chloe and get into a fight for him? In all my life, I'd never heard such an absurd reason for hurting someone. Ethan explained a lot, but I remained unmoved. He, however, thought I was listening intently. "Olivia, I know you scored second, and I'm happy for your progress. I'll work hard too, and we can go to Stanford together in the future." I interrupted Ethan's monologue. "I have no intention of going to Stanford. That's just your wishful thinking. Why? We agreed to go to college together before." He knew that was before, and before equals the past. At least for Ethan and me, our before was a bygone era. I didn't want to reminisce, not in the slightest. School started a few days later. My dad drove me. Daniel and I were still desk mates. However, Ethan and Chloe were no longer desk mates. Ethan asked the teacher to change his seat and now sat with a male classmate. Chloe, feeling wronged, went to confront Ethan, but he kept a cold face and didn't speak to her. Rumors outside were spreading that Ethan and Chloe had broken up. Chloe's eyes were red-rimmed from crying. As boastful and arrogant as she had been before, that's how utterly defeated she was now. But none of this had anything to do with me. I continued to focus on my studies and never paid attention to anything regarding Chloe and Ethan. A week later, Chloe got into trouble again. When first transferred to the school, she had been bullied, and I had stepped in to help her avoid disaster. When she was with Ethan, she had his backing, and no one dared to provoke her. Now that she and I had fallen out, and Ethan was also distant with her, those who had previously troubled Chloe came back to bully her again. Chloe was cornered in the restroom and had mop water dumped all over her. Emily and I happened to be going to the restroom and witnessed the scene. I didn't intervene, I just watched dispassionately. Later, someone informed Ethan, and he rushed over. Ethan took Chloe away, and the students who bullied Chloe were also called to the dean of students' office. I don't know what Chloe and Ethan discussed, but he came to find me again that evening. Ethan believed that Chloe being doused with mop water was my fault. "Olivia, you used to have such a strong sense of justice and compassion. Why are you bullying Chloe like this? Don't you know this is school bullying? Didn't I tell you? Chloe and I have nothing going on. I'll keep my distance from her." "Don't take out your anger on an innocent person, that's very unethical." I admitted I was angry. "Are you out of your mind? Why would I target Chloe because of you? Why would I bother targeting Chloe?" "Ethan, if you weren't out of your mind, you'd know that I stopped liking you a long time ago. You and I are like strangers. What reason do I have to make such a foolish mistake for you?" Ethan was speechless. He stared at me for a long moment before huffing, "But you can't just callously stand by either." I was so furious. "Is there a law that says I have to help Chloe? You're not my relative, just a neighbor. There are so many neighbors in this area. Am I supposed to selflessly rush to help every neighbor's girlfriend when something happens? How could I possibly help them all?" If I had retained a sliver of affection for Ethan before, then this time, his continued listening to Chloe's nonsense and sticking up for her without bothering to understand the facts exhausted the last of my feelings for him. I texted Daniel, venting my anger and grievances. I didn't expect Daniel to stand up for me. The next day at school, Chloe, Ethan, a few of the girls who bullied Chloe, and I were all called to the office. The principal, the dean of students, and our homeroom teacher were all there. In front of them, the girls explained their reasons for ganging up on Chloe. Chloe had previously bullied them, presuming on her relationship with Ethan, and they retaliated because they couldn't tolerate it. This matter had nothing to do with me. The dean of students gave the girls who bullied Chloe a serious disciplinary action. Ethan looked at me, pale and flushed by turns, while Chloe kept her head down and said nothing. Daniel looked at them coldly. "Shouldn't people apologize when they've wronged someone? Chloe, humiliated, lowered her head and apologized. Ethan also apologized. Daniel and I left together, not sparing either Ethan or Chloe a glance. The college entrance exam was drawing nearer, and I immersed myself in intense studying. Daniel, however, was very relaxed. His grades were A*s top, and he already planned to study abroad, so his daily task was tutoring me. Another monthly exam ended, and I consistently ranked second, becoming second to none. At the same time, I also received emails from international universities. I was very happy, and my parents were also delighted, giving me generous rewards. For his 18th birthday, I gave him a gift and had dinner with him. He didn't invite anyone else, it was just the two of us. He made a wish over the burning candles, but instead of closing his eyes, he looked at me. I want Olivia to be my girlfriend. Can that wish come true? The answer was, of course, yes. He was such an outstanding guy, I had no reason to refuse. Daniel and I confirmed our relationship. Since we were going to study abroad together, my parents were a little worried and personally met Daniel. Daniel's demeanor made my parents very satisfied, and we began making preparations for studying abroad. During this time, I never paid any attention to Ethan. I'm someone who holds grudges. I told my parents every detail of Ethan troubling me because of Chloe. My parents were very angry and went to talk to aunt and uncle. Ethan was lectured by aunt and uncle. They forced Ethan to come and apologize, but Ethan refused. And so, the relationship between our two families grew distant. Ethan and I had no further interaction. Occasionally, I would encounter Chloe and Ethan when I went out. They must have truly started a passionate romance, often strolling along the winding roads of the upscale neighborhood. I saw them several times. They were always arm in arm, very intimate. I would only glance at them before looking away. Unrelated people had nothing to do with me. The college entrance exam arrived as scheduled, and Daniel and I also took it. Although we had decided to study abroad, we still wanted to prove ourselves. After the exam, Daniel and I traveled together to the vast ranch country of Montana and the desert landscapes of Utah. We rode horses across the vast plains, drank fresh dairy, and stayed in cozy cabins, eating grilled meats. We hiked through desert canyons, following expeditions through the remote wilderness, thoroughly experiencing the beauty of nature. The vacation ended quickly, and scores were released soon after. Daniel and I were both honored students with special recognition for our scores. After we both learned this, Daniel and I arranged to have dinner. Other classmates from our grade were also there, and Ethan and Chloe came too. Ethan also scored very well and received recruitment calls from Stanford and MIT. Chloe's scores were not as impressive, she could only attend a reputable state university. We were all classmates, about to go our separate ways, and everyone asked each other for their scores. Daniel and I didn't disclose our scores, and everyone knew our scores were being specially recognized, offering us their blessings. During dinner, Daniel and I sat together, and he thoughtfully served me food. I returned the favor by serving him food, and it was then that everyone realized that we were a couple. Emily smiled and raised a toast to us, and Daniel and I graciously accepted their blessings. When I sat back down, I met Ethan's red-rimmed eyes. I didn't linger and looked away. Later, everyone went to a karaoke bar to sing. Midway through, my phone rang. I got up to answer it. After the call, I turned around and found Ethan standing behind me. Ethan, with red-rimmed eyes, said, "Olivia, from now on, I'll cut off all ties with Chloe and have no further contact with her. Can we start over?" I didn't know why he would say such a thing. Who does he think he is? And what does he take me for? I smiled and shook my head. No. Chloe and I really had nothing going on. Olivia, Chloe is very gentle, she always yielded to me, but she never did. I always had to pacify you and make concessions for you. Chloe said that when you love someone, you tolerate them, accommodate them, and do anything for them. So, at first, I just wanted to see if you would accommodate me, tolerate me, and do anything for me. You never yielded, always waiting for me to yield first. I was very unhappy. I thought you didn't like me that much, so I gave you the cold shoulder. I wanted to see you regret it. Ethan, with red-rimmed eyes, said, "Olivia, I regret it. I've regretted it for a long time. Please forgive me." He knelt before me, pleading, "We have over 10 years of history. I know you like me. I like you too. I wronged you before, Olivia, I apologize." A belated apology means nothing. Besides, I no longer cared, but kept rambling on about our past. I didn't see anything to reminisce about from the past, especially our past. Didn't he know that when he stood up for Chloe, our past had already become a joke? I didn't have time for Ethan's nonsense. I turned to leave, but he stopped me. He pulled something out of his pocket. This is a good luck charm I sought out for you, to keep you safe. I pushed Ethan's hand away. Ethan, I have a boyfriend. You know he's very outstanding. I have no reason to leave my boyfriend and get involved with you. You. Aren't you just trying to get back at me? Olivia, I know you're with Daniel just to spite me. I admit my mistake. Ethan, as if obsessed, insisted, Daniel is going to study abroad, and if you stay here, you'll be separated for several years. You know, the biggest fear in a relationship is separation. He didn't know that Daniel and I had already planned to study abroad together, and our visas were already processed. I don't know why Ethan was so convinced that I would stubbornly continue to love him and never change my mind. Since he wanted to dream like this, I had every reason to shatter his delusion. Ethan, I don't like you anymore. I admit I did like you before, very, very much. I sighed. But after you hurt me for Chloe, I withdrew my affection. You probably don't know how many times you hurt me for Chloe, D. Oh, you? Let me tell you, when you and Chloe lied to me together, I was very upset. It was just hurt and sadness. I thought the person I'd loved for over 10 years wouldn't do that to me. I thought it was just a misunderstanding. Later, Chloe falsely accused me of hitting her, and you pushed me to the ground for Chloe. My leg was injured then, and I was very upset. I thought you were just misled. It's okay, I could choose to forgive you. Then the third time, the time we were most likely to go back to how things were, I was lying on the ground after a car accident, bleeding. I reached out to you. But you walked past me and chose Chloe. I was hospitalized, and you never once visited me. From that day on, I told myself, I had to let you go. As I recalled these memories, Ethan's face gradually turned ashen. He tried to explain, but I didn't give him the chance. Later, Chloe falsely accused me again, and you again chose to believe her. When was hurt, you continued to believe Chloe and questioned me. After so many hurts, I don't know how you have the nerve to ask for my forgiveness. Anyway, if it were me, I would stay far away from you and never appear before you again. Ethan's lips trembled, and an expression of regret appeared in his eyes. I turned around. Ethan, you and I can't even be friends anymore. You should know that very clearly. That night, Ethan never returned to the private room, he just left. I felt I had made myself very clear, and he would have no further ideas. But on the day Daniel and I were preparing to study abroad, Ethan, aunt, and uncle rang our doorbell together. He was there to apologize in person, and his attitude was filled with sincerity. Entering, they saw the suitcases placed in the living room. My parents politely asked them to sit. I politely greeted uncle and aunt. As they exchanged pleasantries in the living room, my phone rang. Daniel had arrived, he was here to pick me up for the airport. Daniel carried the suitcases, and we started to leave. Ethan jumped up and ran to the door. You're going. My mom smiled and replied, Olivia and Daniel are going to study abroad. They're leaving today. Ethan's face turned ashen. You're going abroad with him? You're leaving me? He probably thought that if he corrected his mistakes, and given how close our families were and our decade-long bond, I would forgive him. He believed we would go back to how things were, no matter how many impossible things I had told him. Ethan always thought I would never leave him, that's why he dared to recklessly hurt me. It wasn't until this moment that Ethan truly believed I had really let him go. I was truly letting him go. The car slowly started. I waved goodbye to my parents. Ethan stood there looking utterly devastated, watching the car drive away. He took a few steps to chase after it, then finally crouched by the roadside. I looked away and rested my head on Daniel's shoulder. The past's burdens had faded into oblivion. I would embrace the present and seize the future. I would be all right. Daniel and I would surely be happy. Thank you for tuning in to today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments section. Feel free to share your opinions, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more captivating stories. See you next time.